Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where our mission is to provide education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. USA Global TV and Radio connects you with experts and audiences all around the world every single day to help you succeed in business and to live a richer life. Visit us at usaglobaltv.com to learn about career and life-changing training and mentoring programs like the Listening Mentor. Subscribe to our newsletter to stay informed about our special programs and offers. Discover how you can become a guest on one of our shows or a host or producer of a USA Global TV and Radio show of your very own. That's USA Global TV and Radio, where the doctor is always in.
Hello, everyone. Giving you a big warm welcome here at USA Global TV and Radio. I'm Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, and our show today is the United Kingdom. It's episode 101. Woo! If you missed last week, where were you? What were you doing? It's okay. Go over to our YouTube channel, USA Global TV and Radio, and you can subscribe and follow us there. Also, I'm thrilled to announce that we are back on the radio. We were off for a little while, but we are back on all the major radio platforms as well as all of these major social media platforms. Coming very soon, some big, super big, huge announcements coming on January the 14th, especially for all of our loyal clients, especially my loyal clients and friends, and also especially for business owners. Okay, let's get to the show and find out what is going on over in the United Kingdom. Let's welcome the star of our show, DIANN FLOYD BOEHM. She might be in the United Kingdom for all I know. I have no idea, but I do know that she is up to something creative. She has been writing and publishing and speaking and just getting everybody in the world to understand you have a voice to share. Let's do it together. DIANN, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Dr. Jacalyn. What a beautiful introduction. I'm turning red.
Thank you, DIANN. Red is the bus, but you look beautiful. Are you in London right now?
I wish, wouldn't that be lovely, or even Scotland? I am in my home in Texas, so that's exciting, and it's going to be really cold down here next week. It's going to get down to the 20s, and I'm not used to that.
Oh my gosh.
Goodness gracious, I know, my stars. So I'm putting in, Texans, we don't do cold very well, so I'm stocking
not
up.
into cold at all. It's like 60 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm like, no, that's it. Yeah. 20, forget it, DIANN. You've got to come down to Florida. I think it's 70 something, which is, there's a little chill in the air. We get so spoiled.
Yeah, that's us today, but not next week. You better check your weather for next week. But as far as creativity, I am writing new stories. And I am working on improving my quilting skills. So I'm going to be making some Valentine placemats. How about that?
Wow. DIANN, tell us a little bit about quilting for people who are not aware of it. What tools do you use and what skill set do you need? Patience,
well,
right?
I'm sorry, what?
Patience,
yeah. But I mean, way before there were sewing machines, women and men were quilting, and it was a necessity because that's how they got their blankets to stay warm. Today, we're very blessed because it's not a necessity. It's a fun hobby. But my great-grandmother was great at quilting, making rugs. My mom didn't quilt, but she made homemade rugs and so forth. So I think I get kind of, some of that from them. And but as far as quilting goes, it's 3 layers. There's your bottom layer of a fabric you might like, and then there's the padding inside to keep you warm and snuggly, and then there's the top layer. And you can make the quilts in all different ways. A log cabin, which means long and short different strips, or squares, triangles. There's like a million different designs you can do. And once you sew all the pieces together, then you put all 3 together to make it all so we can get on with the show. And you pin it, and then you either hand sew it. I'm not a hand sewer, but I do not have the patience for that, Dr. Jacalyn. But then I have a quilt. My machine does quilting, and so I put on the right footer and press the button, and voila, there we go.
Sounds like a television show in the making, Quilting with DIANN. That sounds really interesting, and it's a great way to use your time and to create something that brings value.
Yes, and also, for those listening, it really is, and it's a de-stressor. You don't get anxious unless you have to rip things out, and then you're like, "Argh." um, but actually, it lets my mind at ease, and then the next thing I know, I have a story.
Yeah. Well, let's hear more about it. Let's welcome our other team member, our expert correspondent, Mr. Simon MacDonald. He is a TV presenter with tons of accolades from the broadcasts that he's done over the decades. He's a celebrity chef. He's an expert when it comes to fisheries and smokehouses, and he's also an author. Let's bring him out. Hello.
Hello, it's lovely to be back. And yes, well, Diane and Dr. Jacalyn, I am in the future, of course. Being in Scotland, we're a good few hours ahead of you. And we're also ahead of you in the weather as well. The temperature is in the low 20s today, so I could do with some of your quilts. It's a bit chilly. I mean, I sort of really cast my eyes to heaven when Dr. J said, oh, yes, with 70 degrees, it's a bit cold in the air. And I thought, I wish.
I have to say, Diane, you have me a little worried. So I just happened to look up the weather in Boca. You can't see Boca Raton, Florida, but it's 79 degrees next week.
Oh, I'm on a plane.
Oh, that's it. Me too. Yes. There we go. Oh dear, oh dear. Yeah, we're supposed to think it get even colder next week. There is snow on the way, I believe. They keep promising snow, but where I am on the west coast in Argyllshire, we seem to be in a little area where we get very little snow. I mean, recently we've had a lot of snow to the south of us and a lot of snow to the north of us. Even in the south of England, in Kent, they've had some serious snow. And that's the one part of England that seems to be at the moment not underwater. The flooding in England just now is just absolutely horrific. I've got friends who live on a narrow boat that's a canal boat down in England. Lovely couple, originally from South Africa, know them very, very well. And they've got this beautiful boat sitting in the water, and they can't get ashore because the canal is overflowed now, and they've got to use a dinghy to get into that, to row to the shop about half a mile away to go and buy groceries, and then have to row all the way back across people's gardens and rowing along roads and so on and so on. So they've got it pretty bad down there. So that's what they get for living near the equator. That's all I can say about it.
Oh my gosh, they really have to go the distance for their food. That's a lot.
There's so many houses have been flooded out and businesses flooded as well. I'm just watching all our insurance premiums are going to go through the roof. But I feel so sorry for them. They've had a pretty tough time of it. So fortunately here in Argyllshire, it's much more moderate. It's only just low 20s Fahrenheit in temperature. In Celsius, it was -6 last night. So that was it. It's a bit nippy today. So I was considering putting a jersey on.
Now, Simon, I know that you've been to the States and you're probably coming back sometime in the near future. Are you, for the Seafood Festival?
Possibly, and that's in Boston when we march, so it's not that far away. And I mean, Boston's such a beautiful city. It's an amazing place, and everybody's so friendly there as well. There's some brilliant restaurants there too. So yeah, I like Boston. That's the second time I've been there. First time I was there, my daughter was in the British team for the World Skating Championships. So that was held in Springfield. So we landed in Boston. We spent a day or two in Boston, and then through to Springfield for the championships, and then back home. So that was my first experience. I vowed I would come back. And now with fisheries, it's great. I can come back to one of the biggest expos there is in the world. So love it there.
I just want to know, for our viewers, our loyal followers who may not have seen previous episodes, were you the only person you saw wearing a kilt?
That's what I wanted to know.
Yes, the expert. I mean, oh dear, here we go. We're going down.
Here we go with the kilt. I wish I had that photograph of
I
you
want
with
the elevator photo.
Yeah, I know.
That was.
We want
Yes.
someone from the.
Well, that was it. I mean, coming into the exhibition hall, you've got to go down this glass elevator, glass-sided elevator. Now, wearing a kilt in true Scottish tradition, you've just got to be pretty careful how you tackle the elevator there. So, I was the only one wearing a kilt. I can understand why after that experience. So, yes, it was incredible. I mean, wherever you go, if you wear a kilt, suddenly you're everybody's friend. I must have been the most photographed person at that show. Everybody was wanting to pose behind this Scotsman who's come across there and he's wearing a kilt, So and somebody says, but what do you call that skirt? And I thought, the last person who called it a skirt was kilt.
Well, I have a question for you. You do not wear those in the winter, though, right? Like you would freeze everything.
Freeze everything, Diane?
Yes, we all know about brass monkeys.
I never knew that's what that was. Okay.
No, well, the brass monkey thing, that's actually an old naval thing. The brass monkey is actually a triangular piece of metal, usually made out of brass, and cannonballs are mounted on that on the deck of the ship. And once the temperature goes down so low, of course, the brass contracts, and so the cannonballs roll off. So that's the actual true explanation of that one. I could apply to a Scotsman on a very cold day, but the kilt is, it's the most practical, thing to wear. It's there's 9.5 yards of material in it. I mean, there's the expression, the whole 9.5 yards. And so 9.5 yards of material in the kilt. So it keeps you really quite warm, and it's quite heavy material as well. But in the summer, it's got natural air conditioning. You've got the best of both worlds.
I'm blown away.
I am too. I'm learning so much today.
It's difficult for the wind to blow it up, though, because the way the pleats are formed, it's almost impossible to lift a kilt up.
How many people does it take to lift it up?
I haven't let that many try.
Very good answer. I love it.
Yeah, you're giving all sorts of strange thoughts through my mind just now.
I know.
I have to take a break.
Now I'm the one that's going red and matching the bus.
This is PG rated, isn't it? I want to say hello to our dear colleague and friend, HELENA, CHARD, who is not with us today. We're thinking of you. So, Simon, you are the man of the hour, literally, on our 101st episode. I know you've got a presentation prepared for us. Any information that you want to share about the latest news of what's going on there in the UK?
Well, the government's always in trouble, and there's a lot of controversy going on just now with it, and talk, will there be an election? Will there not be an election? When will the election be? It is to be this year, and it was hoped it was going to be in May. I'd quite like it this month, if possible, the way it's going. But the Prime Minister turned around and said, oh, no, it's not going to be until October. So he's going to string it out as long as he can, hoping he's going to get some votes back. But his rating in the polls just now is very, very poor. So I think, if he manages to claw back his job, then, it'll be nothing short of a miracle. Things are going very, very badly against the government. A lot of it over the issue of the immigrants coming in, or the boat people, as they call them now, who are, getting across the English Channel in whatever rubber dinghies they can cobble up. And he's proudly announced, oh, well, the numbers have dropped dramatically. We haven't had nearly as many coming in this last couple of months. Well, I'm not surprised, because the weather, they can't. So that's it. But I read today that is having problems and where to keep all these people. And they've set up a deal with Rwanda, which has cost so far £140 million, and it's rising all the time. And it's to send a lot of the processed immigrants over to Rwanda and drop them off there and say, your problem, not ours. At the moment, all he's managed to send across to Rwanda is 2 or 3 of his government ministers. It's a pity they didn't stay there, but anyway, they got the flight back, and that's it. But this thing looks as if it's coming off the rails because it's being deemed as probably being illegal. So in the meantime, showing all the confidence he has in this plan of his to send them all to Rwanda, he is paying £1.5 million a day to hotels just to keep empty rooms standing by to take these people in case the Rwanda thing doesn't work out. So I don't think he's really got a lot of confidence in his own ability there as well. And the cracks are definitely showing in the government just now. It's sad, that, and I think it's not just happening in the UK. They're just the world seems to be a bit disjointed just now in their leadership. We're going through one of these strange phases that anybody applying for a job in as a minister in government, so the criteria is that they must not have experience of the department they're actually applying for, because that's the way it seems to be working out. So that's my political rant for the day.
Sounded like America.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Well, I didn't want to say anything.
We do have a comment from a Facebook user. Congratulations on your 101st episode, and hello to all. Not staying too long. Why not? May catch up on this a little later, though. Okay, thank you for watching and commenting. We don't know who you are. If you'd like to type in your name, we'd appreciate it, but we thank you for being here. Okay, so there has been some news. I've seen some photographs of some of the royal family over here. Diane, have you seen anything?
Actually, I don't normally pick up magazines. I wait till I'm at a salon or something, but I did purchase the latest People's Magazine with Princess Kate on the cover. Have y'all seen that?
No, I have not.
It's gorgeous. She's celebrating her birthday, and they were honoring her, and she had a 3-page spread. It was very interesting. It was really beautiful and well written, and you got some great insights on who she is, how dynamic she is, and how she's such a strong person. And also you heard, how her feelings got hurt through different family events that happened. But I really enjoyed reading it and seeing some of the lovely photographs of her and her family, as well as her with the late Queen Elizabeth and with King Charles today. So yeah, pick up a copy. It was really great.
Thanks, Diane. You know what I'd be interested to find out is I will look at that magazine on my phone. And I wonder if it's the same content as it is if you go and buy a copy in the store. We should find that out.
It's my understanding it is, because you bought the subscription, right?
No, the free
on the phone. Oh, so
free.
Maybe it's a teaser then. I don't know, because I can't imagine they would give you the whole thing for free.
I know, that wouldn't make any sense. And if they're doing it, let's talk to them and get them straightened out.
You don't want to lose money.
No, definitely.
Princess of Wales, she's on just about every magazine you see in the UK all the time. But she's absolutely amazing. I mean, she has slotted into what is a very, very difficult role, very difficult job, slotted into it straight away and taken to it like the proverbial duck to water. She's an exceptional person and a great ambassador for the UK as well. So yeah, my hat goes off to her. She is just quite an extraordinary person, as is the Prince of Wales as well. He is definitely cut out to be king right from the minute he was born, and I think Prince George is exactly the same mold as well. So I think the future's safe with them, most definitely. And so the only trouble is, of course, when you're king, it's a dead end job. There's no prospects of promotion. I mean, that's it.
Yeah, as if you're pretty high up.
Yeah, I was reading about other royalty who have abdicated their throne for their loved one who was next in line, and there were some questions about whether or not King Charles was going to do that, and the answer was absolutely not.
Yeah, no, I don't see that happening at all. Yes, we're talking about the Queen of Denmark, who abdicated recently as well. I mean, a lot of the European royals, this seems to happen. They don't stay the course, but in the UK, I think the only abdication I immediately can think of is King Edward VIII, and other than that, they all stay the pace right to their dying breath, quite literally. And I mean, I think Charles has been waiting so long that he's wanting to get as much out of the job as he possibly can, and he's doing a great job. I think there were a lot of people who thought, will he or won't he? But he's had so much training. I mean, he's 70 years as an apprentice king, and here he is now, and he's doing a tremendous job. So good.
All good, as my mother would say. He's getting a good report.
Yes.
Better than I did at school, I think.
And you're right. The Prince of Wales and little George, he's so adorable. They definitely are made to be king one day.
Yes. Yeah.
There is this amazing, gorgeous picture of George in the People magazine as well, and you might have seen it. It's on Instagram too. And I was just like, he is as cute as a little button. I think he must get away with everything, because I mean, if he was my son, I'm like, oh yeah, you weren't supposed to do that, but you're so darn cute.
I'll just look the other way. It's okay. You just cut up all my quilts. It's okay. Don't worry about it.
And at the other end of the scale, well, Prince Andrew, of course, his name is hitting the papers again, and it's all rearing up. He's supposed to be getting evicted out of his house, and he's refusing to go. So it's all just creating bad taste. It's very sad. Yeah, I don't want to start casting aspersions, but when I look at Prince Louis and his antics, I wonder, is this an Andrew in the making? I don't know, but I mean, it's really to say that he's a little character. That boy, he really is. He's a great character, and I'd say he's the comedian of the royal family, without a doubt. And he's got bags of energy. Charlotte, Princess Charlotte, wow, she's going to break a few hearts, that girl. She is turning out to be, what a stunner. Absolutely incredible looking girl. And she's got her head screwed on well as well. I think she's, she knows how many beans make five, basically. She's a smart one.
Yeah. She's a bean counter, it sounds like.
She is gorgeous. Yeah.
Absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, we're at the part of our show where it's time for your presentation. Drum roll.
Right. Well, we've got a little video clip first, which will introduce perfectly what I'm going to talk about today.
All right.
So, roll VT. Yes, and here we are today at Edinburgh Castle. It's probably Scotland's most iconic of all castles. It's got an incredible history behind it. It goes back a long way. The first signs of habitation there goes back to 89 BC. So it's the site itself is pretty old. None of the original of 89 BC still exists, but it is it's an incredible building. It's built on a volcanic plug, and you can see Edinburgh Castle from everywhere in Edinburgh. One other interesting thing about Edinburgh as well, wherever you go, you can always see a tree or trees. And I had a thing with a taxi driver in Edinburgh once about this, and he said, "Oh, no." And I said, "Well, look, here's my phone number. Give it a couple of months. Let me know how you get on." And he phoned back right enough in 2 months' time, and he said, "Yeah, you remember, I'm the taxi driver who talking about the trees in Edinburgh." So you're absolutely right. I know every street in Edinburgh, and everywhere I go, I can always see a tree. So it's a country city. And it shares a little bit with the likes of Rio de Janeiro and Cape Town as well, in that it's got a big mountain in the middle there. It's called Arthur's Seat. It's not as high as Sugarloaf Mountain or Table Mountain in Cape Town, but we got one all the same. Anyway, Edinburgh Castle is located at the top of the Royal Mile at the west end of Edinburgh's Old Town. And the volcanic castle rock offers a naturally defended position with sheer cliffs to the north and south and a steep ascent to the west. The only easy approach is from the town to the east, and the castle's defences are situated accordingly with a series of gates protecting the route to the summit of the castle rock. Now, as I said earlier, there's the castle that's built on this very, very dense rock as well, which created problems in the past to them in the respect of getting water. Edinburgh Castle, it's been under siege 29 times in its career as well, and it's almost been at the stage where they had to surrender because of lack of water. In front of the castle is a long sloping forecourt, which is known as the Esplanade, or originally it was called the Spur. But the present Esplanade was laid out as a parade ground in 1753 and extended in 1845. And it's on this Esplanade that the Edinburgh Military Tattoo takes place each year, which is a fabulous event. And if you're ever in Edinburgh around the time of the Edinburgh Festival and the Tattoo, it's something you got to see. It's almost life-changing, fantastic event. So from the Esplanade, the Half Moon Battery is very prominent, and the Royal Palace to its left. The gatehouse at the head of the Esplanade was built as an architecturally cosmetic addition to the castle in 1888, and statues of Robert the Bruce and Thomas Clapperton, by Thomas Clapperton and William Wallace by Alexander Carrick were added in 1929. A dry ditch in front of the entrance was completed in its present form in 1742. Within the gatehouse are offices at present, and the road, which itself going up from there, was built by James III in 1464 for the transport of cannons, and leads upwards and around to the north half of the Moon Battery and the Four-Wall Battery to the Portcullis Gate. The Portcullis Gate was begun by the Regent Morton after the Long Siege of 1571 to 73, and that was to replace the Round Constable's Tower, which was destroyed in the siege. In 1584, the upper parts of the gatehouse were completed by William Shaw, and these were further modified in 1750. And then in 1886 to 87, this plain building was replaced with the Scots baronial tower, and the original Portcullis Gate remains below. New structure was named the Argyll Tower from the fact that the 9th Earl of Argyll had been held there prior to his execution in 1685. So just inside the gate is the Argyll Battery overlooking Princes Street, which is the main thoroughfare, main street in Edinburgh, with the Millsmount Battery and the location of the 1 o'clock gun, which we have just seen in that wonderful video clip. The 1 o'clock gun is, this goes off every day. That little piece of ceremony happens every single day, spot on 1 o'clock. And if you don't hear the 1 o'clock gun, I mean, people have been stopped in the tracks and sort of thought, why is it so quiet? 1 o'clock gun hasn't gone off, but that hasn't happened in living memory. The 1 o'clock gun always goes off. And it's one of the big tourist attractions of Edinburgh as well. So, if you're there, always time getting to the castle so you can go up and see the 1 o'clock gun going off. earplugs, definitely recommended. So below these is the low defence, and while at the base of the rock is the ruined well house tower, which was built in 1362 to guard St Margaret's Well. This natural spring provided an important secondary source of water for the castle. The water was then lifted up by crane on a mounted platform. The areas to the north and west of the Argyll Tower are largely occupied by military buildings erected after the castle became a major garrison in the early 18th century. Adjacent to Mills Mount is the 18th century cart sheds. The governor's house to the south was built in 1742 as accommodation for the governor, storekeeper, and the master gunner, and was used until the post of governor became vacant in the later 19th century. It was then used by nurses of the Castle Hospital. Today, its function as an officer's mess and the office of the governor since the restoration of the post in 1936. South of the governor's house is the new barracks, completed in 1799. Doesn't sound so new, but they were new then, and they were to house 600 soldiers and replacing the outdated accommodation in the Great Hall. They now house the regimental headquarters of the Royal Regiment of Scotland and the regimental headquarters of the Royal Scots Dragoon Guards, as well as the Royal Scots Dragoon Guards Museum. The latter, which was opened in 1995 by the regiment's colonel, which is Queen Elizabeth II. Also nearby, in the former Royal Scots Drill Hall, constructed in 1900, is the Regimental Museum of the Royal Scots. The military prison was built in 1842 as a detention block for the castle garrison and was extended in the 1880s. It was last used in 1923 when the garrison moved to the city's Redford Barracks, which was actually straight across the road from the school I was at as well. The west of the governor's house, a store for munitions was built in 1747 to 48 and later extended to form a courtyard in which the main gunpowder magazine also stood. In 1897, the area was remodeled as a military hospital, formerly housed in the Great Hall. The building to the south of this courtyard is now the National War Museum of Scotland. It covers Scotland's military history over the past 400 years and includes a wide range of military artifacts such as uniforms and medals and weapons. The exhibits also illustrate the history and causes behind the many wars in which Scottish soldiers have been involved. Beside the museum is Butt's Battery, named after the archery targets which were formerly placed there. And below it are the western defences, where a postern named the West Sally Port gives access to the western slope of the rock. And that western slope is pretty steep, believe me. The upper ward of the citadel occupies the highest part of the castle rock and is entered via the late 17th century Fugues Gate. The origin of this name is partially unknown, although it's formally known as Foggy Gate, which may relate to the dense sea fogs known as Hars, which commonly affect Edinburgh. And, they're very cold, those sea fogs that come in off Edinburgh. I've experienced them often enough. Adjacent to the gates are large cisterns built to reduce the castle's dependency on well water and a former fire station of its day. The summit of the rock is occupied by St Margaret's Chapel and 15th century siege guns Mons Meg. On a ledge below this area is a small 19th century dog cemetery for the burial of soldiers' regimental mascots. Besides this, the Lang Stair or Long Stair leads down to the Argyll Battery, past a section of medieval bastion, and gives access to the upper story of the Argyll Tower. The eastern end of the upper ward is occupied by the Four Ball and the Half Moon batteries, with Crown Square to the south. The oldest building in the castle and in Edinburgh is the small St Margaret's Chapel, which is one of the few 12th century structures surviving in any Scottish castle. It dates from the reign of King David I, who was on the throne from 1124 to 1153, who built it as a private chapel for the royal family and dedicated it to his mother, who was St. Margaret of Scotland, who died in the castle in 1093. It survived the sighting of 1314, when the castle's defences were destroyed on the orders of Robert the Bruce, and was used as a gunpowder store from the 16th century when the present roof was built. So new and old gets a bit obscure here. 16th century, when the present roof was built. In 1845, it was discovered by the antiquary Daniel Wilson, while in use as part of a larger garrison chapel, and was restored in 1851 to 52. The 15th century siege gun or bombard known as Mons Meg is displayed on a terrace in front of St. Margaret's Chapel. It was constructed in Flanders on the order of Philip III, who was the Duke of Burgundy, in 1449, and given as a gift to King James II, who was the husband of his niece, in 1457. Now, the £13,000 or 9.5 ton gun rests on a reconstructed carriage, the details of which were copied from an old stone relief and can be seen inside the tunnel of the gatehouse at the castle entrance. Some of Mons Meg's large gunstones or cannonballs weigh around 330 pounds each and are displayed alongside it. So on the 3rd of July, 1558, it was fired in salute to celebrate the marriage of Mary Queen of Scots to the French Dauphin Francois II. The Royal Treasurer's accounts of the time record a payment to the soldiers for retrieving one of her cannonballs from Wardy Muir near the Firth of Forth, fully 2 miles from the castle. And the gun has been defunct now since its barrel burst while firing a salute to greet the Duke of Albany, who was the future King James VII and II of England, on his arrival in Edinburgh on the 30th of October in 1681. That must have been one heck of a bang when that thing burst. I mean, you can see where the barrel is cracked today. It's just an enormous big cannon, this thing. The Half Moon Battery, which remains a prominent feature on the east side of the castle, was built as part of the reconstruction works supervised by the Regent Morton, was erected between 1573 and 1588. The forewall to the north was built between 1689 and 1695 to link the Half Moon and the Portcullis Tower, although part of the modern wall of 1540 was actually incorporated into it as well. The Half Moon Battery was built around and over the ruins of the David's Tower, 2 stories of which survive beneath, with windows facing out onto the interior wall of the battery. David's Tower was built on an L plan, and the main block being 51 feet by 38 feet, and the wing measuring 21 by 18 feet in the west. The entrance was via a pointed arch doorway in the inner angle, although in the 16th century this was filled to make the tower a solid rectangle. So prior to the Lang siege, the tower was recorded as being 59 feet high, and the remaining portions stand up to 49 feet from the rock. So the tower was rediscovered during routine maintenance work in 1912, and excavations below the Half Moon Battery revealed the extent of the surviving buildings. Outside the tower, but within the battery, is a 3-story room where large portions of the exterior wall of the tower are still visible, showing shattered masonry caused by the bombardment of 1573. And beside the tower, a section of the former curtain wall was discovered with a gun loop which overlooked High Street. In 1912 and 1913, the adjacent forewell was cleared and surveyed and was found to be 110 feet deep, mostly hewn out through the solid rock below the castle. Now, you think in those days, of course, there was no machinery to do this. It was done by hand and using prisoners as well. Crown Square, also known as the Palace Yard, was laid out in the 15th century during the reign of King James III as the principal courtyard of the castle. And the foundations were formed by the construction of a series of large stone vaults built onto the uneven castle rock in the 1430s. These vaults were used as a state prison until the 19th century, although more important prisoners were held in the main parts of the castle. The square is formed by the Royal Palace to the east and the Great Hall to the south, the Queen Anne Building to the west, and the National War Museum to the north. The Royal Palace itself comprises the former royal apartments, which were the residence of the later Stuart monarchs. It was begun in the mid-15th century during the reign of James IV, and originally communicates with David's Tower. The building itself was extensively remodeled for the visit of James VI to the castle in 1617, and when the state apartments for the king and queen were built. On the ground floor is the Lech, or Low Hall, now called the King's Dining Room, and a small room known as the Birth Chamber, or Mary Room, where James VI was born to Mary, Queen of Scots, on the 19th of June, 1566. There's a birthday date I will need to remember for on this day. The commemorative painted ceiling and the other decorations, they were added in 1617. And on the first floor is the vaulted crown room, built in 1615 to house the honours of Scotland, or the crown jewels. So we've got the crown, the sceptre, the original sword of state, and of course the new sword of state, which was made by my son. And the stone of Scone as well is housed in there, in which the monarchs of Scotland were traditionally crowned, and has been kept in the crown room since it was returned to Scotland in 1996. So to the south of the palace is the Register House, built in 1540s to accommodate state archives. The Great Hall, which I've been in many times for receptions, is an amazing room. And the Great Hall, it measures 95 feet by 41 feet. It was the chief place of state assembly in the castle, although there's no actual evidence that the Parliament of Scotland ever met there. Historians have disagreed over its dating, although it's usually ascribed to the reign of King James IV and is thought to have been completed in the early years of the 16th century. The decorative carved stone corbels supporting the roof have Renaissance detailing, which has been compared to the works of BOEHM in France of around 1515, which indicates that the arts of Scotland were actually relatively advanced at this time. So it's one of only 2 medieval halls in Scotland with an original hammer beam style roof. Following Oliver Cromwell's seizure of the castle in 1650, the Great Hall was converted into a barracks for his troops, and in 1737 it was subdivided into 3 stories to house 312 soldiers. And following the construction of the new barracks in 1790s, it became a military hospital until 1897. The Great Hall, it's still occasionally used for ceremonial occasions. As I say, I've been to a couple of functions there. It is such an incredible, really impressive room. So to the south of the hall is a section of curtain wall from the 14th century with a parapet of a later date. In the 16th century, this area housed the kitchens serving the adjacent Great Hall, and was later the site of the Royal Gun House. Present building was named after Queen Anne and was built during the attempted Jacobite invasion by the Old Pretender in 1708. It was designed by Captain Theodore Drury, a military engineer for Scotland, who also designed Drury's Battery, which was named in his honour on the south side of the castle in 1713. The Queen Anne building, it provided accommodation for staff officers, but after the departure of the army, it was remodeled in the 1920s as the Naval and Military Museum to complement the newly opened Scottish National War Museum. And the museum later moved to the former hospital in the western part of the castle. The Scottish National War Memorial occupies a converted barrack block on the north side of Crown Square. It stands on the site of medieval St Mary's Church, which was rebuilt in 1366 and was converted into an armoury in 1540. It was demolished in 1755, and the masonry was then reused to build new North Barrack block on the same site. So proposals for a Scottish National War Museum were put forward in 1917 during the First World War, and the architect, Sir Robert Lorimer, was appointed in 1919 for it. Construction began in 1923, and the memorial was formally opened on the 14th of July, 1927 by the then Prince of Wales. The exterior is decorated with gargoyles and sculpture, while the interior contains monuments to individual regiments. The memorial commemorates Scottish soldiers and those serving the Scottish regiments who died in the 2 world wars and in more recent conflicts as well. And on the altar within the shrine, placed on the highest point of the castle rock, is a sealed casket containing rolls of honour, which lists over 147,000 names of Scottish soldiers killed in the First World War. after the Second World War, another 50,000 names were inscribed on the rolls of honor held within the hall, and further names continue to be added there to this day. So that's the modern history, pretty much, of Edinburgh Castle. I could go back to, right back to when Noah was a boy, I think, in 89 BC, when they first found discoveries there. And there's so much checkered past with all the different sieges and battles that were carried out there as well. Fascinating history to display. That, if anybody going to Edinburgh, really, they've got to go to Edinburgh Castle. It's definitely part of the thing to do. Amazing building.
Wow, I learned so much. Thank you for sharing all that, and for the photographs and for the video. It's really important history that, especially us here in the States, that we can learn from. We here in the States, not us.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking of the United States of America is a relatively new country. And I'm quoting dates there going back to the 1300s and so on. I mean, the history of America back in those years is very sketchy, and nothing was written down. It was all the spoken history. So there's a lot of missing there, and I should think the actual true history going back in America must be fascinating.
Maybe DIANN will do a piece on that. DIANN, you're on mute.
There you are. You're still on mute, Dan.
I'm still on mute, pushing the button too much. That was just so fascinating. And yes, our country, and respect to your country, we're extremely young. But wow, I mean, in class, in school, grade school, I mean, they just must study history. It's just so, how do you get all that history in? It's amazing.
Well, there's quite a bit. I mean, actually, where I live in the area in Mid Argyll, just outside here where I am, we're in Kilmartin Glen. Now, the Kilmartin Glen was actually a very, very famous area in its day for the number of Scottish kings that were based here and crowned here. And it goes back to Neolithic times. So these standing stones and monuments we've got out here, going back 4,500 years. It's really ancient stuff we've got here. And of course, they've got a really ancient guy living here as well.
Very young at heart, that's for sure.
Young at heart, that's it. Yes, I never turn around and say I'm so many years old. I say I'm so many years young.
That's
so
good.
Much wisdom and knowledge.
But what amazes me architecturally is how so many things built today, they have to tear down because they're falling apart. And you're showing us a castle that has withstood in so much time. Isn't that amazing?
My house was built. There's not an actual fixed date to it, but the architectural style, I'd say it's maybe late 1700s, early 1800s.
Wow.
And the walls here are over 3 feet thick.
Wow.
So they're pretty solid walls, and it's not going to fall down tomorrow. Oh, God, what was that?
They don't make them like they used to. That's for sure.
They really do. I know. They built them well then.
And can you imagine if your walls could talk? I mean, there'd be like story after story after story.
Oh, I mean, it'd be fascinating. I mean, the house I had before, further north from here, and again, that was of a similar age. And I remember stripping back the walls in one room, and I took all the lining boards off and took it right back to stonework. And on the stone walls, they'd been sort of rendered over with the lime mortar, and the original wallpaper was there. And it was, this wallpaper must have gone back to 1800, between 1800 and 1850, that sort of era. And it was crimson with gold, beautiful intricate gold work, all hand painted. Magnificent. I tried to take it off as best I could, but it was so fragile. It was just it just collapsed and you touched it.
Yeah.
I managed to get 1-2 bits off, but
yeah.
I was just absolutely blown away when I saw that. And I thought, if I could only preserve that, I wouldn't put any lining back on the wall. That is a feature.
That definitely.
It's history.
So I guess you don't have central air.
Central air?
With all the wires that run through your walls so that you can turn on your AC.
Air conditioning?
Yes.
DIANN, speak English. What are you saying?
I've got air conditioning in the car, but which is a bit pointless in this country. But no, we've got central heating, but we've got heating, but we don't have air conditioning.
Well, heating is good because some people don't have that either. So DIANN, keep quilting.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, this morning, the heating was struggling to keep up with the cold. It was so cold last night. That's it. Yeah, a big difference in the architectural design of houses. It actually made quite an interesting comparison to do the architecture of Scotland against the architecture in America.
I mean, hands down, I'm sorry, you're going to win.
Yeah, there's no comparison. I think things today are made so they can fall apart so you can spend more money so you can buy again. I don't know.
Absolutely, even a toaster.
Yeah, they're not built like they used to. Yeah.
They're not built like we are. Yeah, solid.
I remember a long time ago when the UK built that building that looks like a giant bullet. I could call it something else, but that one that looks like a giant.
Thank you, DIANN, for keeping it G-rated.
And King Charles, or then he was Prince Charles, was just going, "Oh my gosh, what happened to the architect in England?" Do you remember that?
You're being very polite about his comments on it. He made some pretty caustic comments on it. I think he was quite right as well. But, I've got a well-known architect in my family. My great-grandfather was Sir William Baird, and he designed St Andrew's House in Edinburgh, which is the seat of Scottish government.
Wow.
In Edinburgh. And now, of course, I work very closely with Scottish government, so I go in and out of St Andrew's House, and I say, well, I know who designed this place, and so on. And
Thanks, great grandpa.
Yeah, he was quite a character. When he got married, Princes Street in Edinburgh, which I said earlier is the main thoroughfare of Edinburgh, they closed Princes Street off for the wedding procession. And his bride's dress, my great grandmother, the dress was a gift from the city of New York. So he was he designed a lot of important buildings in the States as well. But St Andrew's House in Edinburgh is his big claim to fame.
Wow.
I think that's probably where I got the drawing part. For doing my illustrations in a rhyme and time.
Well, I hate to break up this party, but we have global social entrepreneurs coming up. So let's go around and give our comments that we want to leave people with today. DIANN, what are your thoughts?
So as I said, my word for a while is going to be kindness. So let the light shine within you and show kindness in the world.
Beautiful. Thank you kindly, DIANN. Simon?
Right. Well, just very quickly then, on this day in 1863, the first underground railway opened in London. So there we are. So we had a first for the subway, underground, whatever you want to call it. And also 1989 was the Tiananmen Square massacre in China. We all remember that was pretty horrific. Birthdays, 1945. Singer Rod Stewart. He's 78 today. Happy birthday, Rod. Sorry, I haven't got a glass. And also in 1949, the American boxer George Foreman was born. He's 74 today. Deaths, 1862, Samuel Colt, famous for the Colt revolver. Aged 47, he died of gout. And in 2016, the singer David Bowie died at the age of 69 of cancer. So that's us for this week. And it's been great fun this week. This hour's gone so quickly.
I know, it just flies by when you're having fun, right?
Right.
Oh,
so we're going to sign off for now, and I encourage everyone to stay with us through the sponsorships, the lovely DIANN, FLOYD, BOEHM, and then our next show is Global Social Entrepreneurs and Anne Scotland. So stay tuned for that. Thank you so much, DIANN. Thank you so much, Simon. I'm so glad you were both here today.
You're welcome.
You've
Y'all
been
have a
lonely
blessed
on
day.
your own.
You too.
And see you all next week.
Bye.
Bye for now.
Dianne Floyd Boehm's A Song of Peace tells the story of a young lad named Tommy whose fervent wish for peace on earth touches the hearts of his friends and family, spreads to his community, and eventually unites the whole world around making his dream of peace a reality for everyone. Sit down with the children in your life and share Tommy's amazing story of love and hope. Sing your own song of peace and invite the children to join you. Tommy's tale is more than just a story. It's a movement, and everyone's warmly welcome to take part.
Kapayapaan, 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 kapayapaan.
You'll find A Song of Peace, along with many other wonderful learning and enriching opportunities for children of all ages, at DiANNFloydBoehm.com.
Hello, I'm children's author Dianne Floyd Boehm, and I am co-host for several of the USA Global TV and radio shows. I joined because of the purpose of the USA Global TV and radio. They provide content for the viewers and listeners, an opportunity for people around the world to have their own show or even be a guest on an existing show. We truly believe in helping others get their positive message out to the world. We also have the opportunity for the listeners. You can watch on several platforms, and on YouTube, you can ask questions and even give a comment. We absolutely love it. I love being part of the USA Global TV and radio because I love positive messages, and who doesn't? And we need more of that in the world. We are a family, and we hope you will join us and become part of the family too.